Namaste, everyone. This is going to be an oracle for all twin flames. And this is going to be a special oracle because I am going to be using Crystal Over Soul attunements and using the Crystal Wisdom Healing Oracle. So I'm going to be using two crystal oracle cards, and I'm going to channel the crystal energy for immense healing. So I'm going to tune in using the mantra Ong, O-N-G, Namo, Gurudev, Namo. I'm going to chant that 3 times to connect with the Holy Spirit, my higher self, and to connect with the 5th dimension where the knowledge, the guidance, and the alchemy is for twin flames. So I'm rubbing my hands together, surrendering to my heart, surrendering to my soul, surrendering to my higher wisdom. Call upon Archangel Michael to my right, Archangel Gabriel to my left. Mother Mary is ahead of me. Archangel Zachiel and Saint Germain are behind me. Above me is the Holy Spirit, a white sun of pure energy of the higher dimensions. And below me are all the ancestors who are here to provide me higher knowledge, higher wisdom, and deep healing. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Now I'm going to use a protection mantra. I visualize 4 pillars of light to the right, to the left, ahead of me and behind me. With each sound, I experience gas stove blue spinning around me clockwise, placing me in a royal deep blue sphere, a sphere of protection that amplifies the excellence, the brightness of my aura, giving me auric strength, raising my vibration to the ascended beings. Adgadename, Jagadgadename, Sadgadename, Siddhi Gurudevaname. Adgadename, Jagadgadename, Sadgadename, Siddhi Gurudevaname. Adgadename, Jagadgadename, Sadgadename, Siddhi Gurudevaname. Inhale. My intention is pure. My intention is clear. I open my heart. I balance my body. There's strength, stability in my navel. There's clarity, purity in my mind. I repair my energy so that my energy is of strength, perseverance, vitality, luminosity, and deep healing. I embrace the equanimity of my soul. I embrace the peace of the angels, and I allow the divine inspiration to move through me. I trust my soul. I trust the divine inspiration that wants to channel through me. I receive the Holy Spirit in each of my chakras. The Holy Spirit balances, heals, and activates each chakra, giving me health in my body, health in my mind, health in my emotions, and good health in my energetic state. Anything that is holding me back, that is conscious or unconscious, subconscious, I allow the Holy Spirit. I welcome the Holy Spirit. I allow the Holy Spirit to go into those places and give me immense healing, and to help me release and to take away the things that are holding me back from truly stepping into the fullness of my expression, the fullness of my creativity, and the fullness of my love. I allow the angels to come in and to remove these lower energies of sadness, of grief, of disappointment, even of judgment, shame, trauma. I allow the Holy Spirit to uplift and uproot any of these lower energies that are inside me that may cause a blockage. I am in the flow. I am in the flow. And I am happy to be in this flow. I am smiling to my soul. I am happy-go-lucky. I am grounded. My intention is to receive guidance, knowledge, and higher love that can help all twin flames on their journey experience peace, balance, prosperity, and manifestation through their intentions, and manifestation that is effortless, that is going to bring great joy and excellence to all twin flames' lives who may watch this. My intention is to empower everyone, even including myself, to bring about a deep satisfaction and a deep peace, a deep sense of calm and enjoyment, so that everybody who may watch this can manifest the excitement, the prosperity, and the peace that is there in the fifth dimension of their reality. May they be able to pull that into their third dimension, experience it in the physical, all the peace, the prosperity, and the creativity. Okay, so I have these crystal decks, and I'm going to, first what I like to do is I just touch them, because the images of the crystals on the cards very much have the energy of the crystal, right? Even though these are not physical crystals, the energy of them is very much alive in each card. So I can feel the vibrational frequency of the crystal in the image of the card. So it's though I'm touching a actual physical crystal. Okay, so just allow the Holy Spirit, the archangels and the earth angels to channel through me knowledge, guidance, and love that can help uplift everybody who may watch this at this time. So the first thing that comes up is dark forces. That's the first thing that I hear, dark forces. And this is nothing to be alarmed of, right? Nothing to give you a trigger, right? The dark forces, in many ways, do not desire these twin flames to join together, right? Because there is great strength in twin flames being together, both creatively and in prosperity. In best handling these darker forces, that can be belief, judgment. It can even be a sense of separation, a sense of disconnect, a sense of distrust. Darker forces that bring about major doubt and feelings of unworthiness and overall sense of entrapment. The darker forces can be handled through your perseverance and through your undeniable, unstoppable vision of yourself. and of the state of your union, right? Very much. If you are a woman watching this, you are the the vision holder, right? And guess, and also the wisdom, right? You are the vision holder. You are the visionary, right? And the masculine very much represents, the woman represents the vision holder. She represents the leader, right? The divine masculine represents the engineer, which is the follower, right? The divine feminine is the access to the higher dimensions for the divine masculine. She is the muse. She is his inner compass, his inner voice of reason, right? So when she is sad, he is sad, right? When she is dissatisfied with him, he feels that, and he feels, can feel a disruption, a disconnect, he can pick up on the lack of acceptance, that she does not accept him, right? So the feelings that we have as the divine feminine are very, very powerful. They are very, very profound, right? And a part of the divine feminine's journey for all women in general is to experience emotional mastery, so that emotions do not run, so they do not become, you could say, they don't become all too consuming, or all too high and low, right? So part of the mastery for the divine feminine is emotions. Part of the mastery for the divine masculine is his ego, right? So both of them have their own challenges, and both of us are in different phases of that, and they both trigger each other in that. For example, they're showing me the divine feminine triggers the divine masculine's emotions, right? Which in turn helps him to become more heartfelt, and also helps him to bring balance in, you can say, fairness to his ego. And the divine masculine triggers the divine feminine's ego in the way that the divine feminine is, the divine masculine really triggers the ego in the divine feminine, which she wants to be accepted for her ecstatic and exotic expression, right? And helping her to have more discernment, helping her to get stronger, right? And helping her to have more personal power, right? Which in turn gives her discipline, right? Discipline that will help her to structure her emotions, so that her emotions are not all over the place, right? So the masculine does help the divine feminine build up her personal power, right? Get a thick skin in essence, right? Get a thick skin, and also helps her to have discernment, and helps her to get discipline, right? When it comes to her emotions, and when it comes to her creativity, and when it comes to her life, right? And the divine feminine helps the divine masculine when it comes to his emotions, and becoming more heartfelt, becoming more compassionate, and becoming more sincere. That again, it helps to bring more integrity and fairness to his ego, so that his ego doesn't get out of control, right? So the divine feminine is about her emotions not getting out of control, and the divine masculine is about not getting his ego out of control. So both of them are doing this constant dance with each other, where the divine masculine can bring up these sort of insecurities in the divine feminine's ego, right? When it comes to her personal power, when it comes to her discernment, when it comes to her inner strength, really challenging her to get stronger as a woman, right? And the divine feminine really challenges the divine masculine in the way that she pushes him to be more heartfelt, to have more integrity, and to be more compassionate, and to have humility, right? Which is to help the divine masculine get a grip, you can say, on over his ego, right? To get a grip. So that dance plays out between the both of them as they both get greater discipline over the ego and over the emotions, so that they can start to become better better manifestors over their reality, so that their ego is not overpowering and the emotions are not overpowering, right? Because when a woman's emotions overpowering, she can't have a grounded life. Her life can feel very much out of control, right? And when a man's the divine masculine's ego is out of control, he doesn't feel very grounded or stable in his relationships and in his with his emotions. So that is guidance for what is going on between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Now, when it comes to the divine feminine, she's the wisdom holder, she is the visionary, she is the vision holder. So that she is the leader, she's a spiritual leader, and the divine masculine is the follower. And that's how it has been since the beginning of time. That's how it's been since even ancient Egypt. So with the spiritual leadership of the divine feminine, she's always initiated into her spiritual practice, her spiritual livelihood. You could say before the divine masculine, right? Even if she is much younger than him, he could be much older, she could be much younger than him, and still she will be initiated into the spiritual practice. They can be as well together, but the divine feminine is definitely going to be initiated into these spiritual practices, these spiritual teachings associated with twin flame, the twin flame template, which is overall about relationship harmony, right? Relationships, harmony, healing, and when it comes to purpose, when it comes to mission, and when it comes to coming into the embodiment of your soul, the divine feminine is definitely going to be initiated into that, as you can say, first, and the way that she basically represents the spiritual realm to the divine masculine, and the divine masculine represents the material realm, right? So the focus for the divine masculine is to get a grip over the material world. So for the divine masculine, he is called, when he's born into this life, right, incarnated into the physical body, right, of the male, he is set out to conquer, you could say, the material world, right? He's set out to get mastery of the material world. So he's driven by the material world. He is driven by the successes in the material world, the victory in the material world, because that is his that's his grip, right? The divine masculine, his grip is over the material world, right? To get a sort of a handle, to get knowledge, right? Much experience in the material world. And that is his initiation process in becoming the divine masculine, is that he needs to become you could say, a master of the material world, or have great experiences and have an understanding of the material world. So again, he is very much designed to basically participate and take part in, we call the third dimension, right? The third dimensional reality, which is basically about, everything in the third dimensional reality, right? We call the matrix, or we can call it society, right? Or we can call it even the structures that govern the third dimension, right? When it comes to successes, and when it comes to the patriarchy, and when it comes to the common human conditions that govern the sort of third dimension reality, such as shame, judgment, feelings of not being good enough. So those are challenges that he is faced with on his pursuit of getting a grip over the material world, right? Because we definitely, as twin flames, we didn't just come here to be spiritual. We also came here to have material victory as well, right? It's both wealth spiritually and materially is the goal, right? Of even the goal of ancient Egypt, right? Ancient Egypt was both spiritually wealthy and materially wealthy, right? And that's why they were able to last a very long time, because they had a grip over both, right? So with the divine feminine, her initiation is very different and can seem even more challenging than the material world, because she is meant to get grip over the spiritual world, which is actually can be more challenging, more challenging, because the spiritual world is really about enhancing your imagination, your creativity, and is really about raising your vibration and being able to connect beyond the material world, right? So while the divine masculine is drinking from the Kool-Aid, right, that everyone in society is drinking from, the divine feminine, she's kind of not, right? She is being guided not to, and kind of being guided to, you can say, sort of rebel from society norms, right? To rebel in the way that her expression, her creativity, her sort of self-esteem is not interlocked with the matrix of the material world. She's really meant to become sovereign, and that is even more challenging, right? Because that requires a lot of personal power, right? A lot of personal power. Like I said, the divine feminine, she is really pushed to have a lot of personal power, because you need a lot of personal power to be able to hold your sovereignty in this particular material world that is set up in a way where if you don't follow the cookie cutter, if you don't follow the factory belt of intelligence, right, or if you don't fit into the patriarchal society and its belief and judgment, you can be very much in our past. There's a lot of, you can say, adversity, right, or adversity or a sense of obstacles that can come with that, right? But the divine feminine, she has chosen to be the female body, because again, in different incarnations we can take on different bodies, like male, or I can be a male in past life and I'm a female in this life, right? You're not just one. Your soul will take on more of the energy of one or the other. But when you look at your soul, you actually, as a soul, like for example, my soul is actually has a pretty good balance between being a man and being a woman, right? And your twin flame will have that as well, right? Where he or she will have a dominant energy, which goes with if they're a man or a woman, but they will also have the balance, right? So a lot of twin flames, it's not so much about needing the other to feel the balance between the man and female. It's just having that within yourself through your incarnations. Like, for example, I've had a lot of incarnations as a man. So I have a strong sort of masculine presence in me, which is about protection, right? The masculine is about protection. It's about discernment. It's about the ego, right? The ego is about being protective, being and having discernment, right? It's also about having a grip over the material world. It's about having an identity, right? It's also being believable and being credible and hard work and building yourself up, right? Your successes, right? Building up your confidence, your sense of livelihood, right? Your sense of self. While the divine feminine is a little bit different, right? Her incarnations are set up to really build up her spiritual and emotional maturity, because you need both. You need a sense of self, but you also need emotional and spiritual maturity, right? So I will say the divine masculine, they're going into the divine masculine, he can be quite initially overwhelmed or even intimidated by the sovereignty of the woman, because he can be a little bit uncomfortable with his own sovereignty, because again, when you are set out into the material world, it will strip you of your sovereignty. It will, right? Especially in this patriarchal society, it will strip you of your sovereignty, and it will, in essence, kind of separate you from your soul, and really it will really bring you into a common personality, I'll say, right? A common personality. Like, it'll kind of strip your individuality, right? Your creative edge, your creative uniqueness, right? If you don't have the personal power. And a lot of divine feminines, their personal power is being pushed by her being initiated into her spiritual livelihood, right? Because again, we're talking about wealth in the spiritual, and wealth in the material is the goal, right? So when it comes to what we'll say the separation, right? It is really about the balancing of the ego for the divine masculine, which is about having the realizations that the judgment, right, or the expectation or the attachment may not necessarily be expansive enough for him. So it's really about expansion of the ego, and also the kind of self-acceptance of his other self, which is the soul self. Because when you're in pursuit of the material world, there really is no focus on the soul self. There really is no discussion about that. Nobody cares about that in the pursuit of material gain, right? So they're really, the divine masculine is about an acceptance of the soul self and about the fulfillment at the emotional level, which cannot be obtained in the material world. It has to be obtained from the spiritual world. And the acceptance for the divine feminine has to do with the acceptance of the material world, and that she is worthy and she is deserving to have successes in the material world, right? She is worthy and deserve, because again, when you're a woman, men, they just like, they've been bred through many generations as men to believe that they're worthy of all the successes and the victory they can have in the material. Women are not. We weren't really bred to believe that we are deserving or worthy to have material successes and victories. So the acceptance for the divine feminine is about finding discernment and finding her boundaries, even when it comes to her life, right? When it comes to her successes in the material world. So really, it's about, once the divine masculine gets a sort of grip on the material world, and whatever time that takes, for him, then he starts to kind of be initiated into the spiritual world, slowly and steadily, because that transition can actually not be, it can be actually even more shaky, right? Because when you really are built up from the point of the material realm, right, from a very young age, and you're built up to believe as a man that your ego, your status, your sex, power, money, when you really built up in it through just the material world, when you start to be introduced to the spiritual world, it can actually be quite shocking, a little bit overwhelming and intimidating, to all of a sudden everything you believed to be true about life itself is all of a sudden being rewritten. And for the divine masculine, that takes a major surrender of the ego, because the ego will not be too comfortable with that, but it is for the balance, so that in having the balance of the ego and emotions for the divine masculine, when his ego has more humility and fairness, right, and is more of grounded in the emotional body, which is about being compassionate and forgiving, and being connected to your spirit, right, which is being more connected to higher creativity, right, that will make him even more energized. It'll give him even more energy for successes, but they'll be at a different caliber. They'll be at a higher caliber we call excellence. There's certain levels of excellence. There's material world, there's success, which is like you can gain and you can obtain, right, these sort of rankings of credentials, and these sort of titles or statuses. But then there's a caliber above that, which is excellence. And excellence for a man is considered excellence due to your creative ingenuity. And that's even a different caliber. That's like a caliber of like Steve Jobs type of thing, right? It's through your creative ingenuity. That's a caliber even above that. But to get that as Steve Jobs, you do have to have, there's a requirement to that for men, right? So men, they're about the climbing the rankings, right? They're all about climbing the ladder, the power, the sex, the money, when it comes to their status, their credibility, their credentials, their sense of reputation. They're seen in the eyes of the external world, right? Which is about being appraised. It's about pleasing. It's about men are competitive, right? So it's about competing. There's a sense of fight. There's a sense of the men, right, being seen in the eyes of the men as you could say prestigious, right? Like a scholar. But then there's a level above that, and you can't obtain that just with your ego. You can't. It's called excellence, right? Excellence. And your ego alone can't obtain that. And this is where the divine masculine is meant to function. It's out of the it's even higher of a caliber, right? We talk about their successes as all the credentials. You are the lawyer of the top lawyer, but then there's another level, and that is the level that both you need not only your ego, but you also need your emotions, right? You need both of them to be a sense of balance, right, or fairness, or a sense of mastery, and that will give you excellence through your creative ingenuity, right? So that's like taking what you've learned as a man through your many successes and your rankings, your statuses, your credentials, and now using that, leveling it up even more so, and using that for creative ingenuity, which is about bringing completely original ideas to this planet that require sovereignty to obtain that kind of vision, like Steve Jobs, right? You need more than just your ego. You actually need another requirement, and that is your emotions. You need some sort of vision or intuition, right? And there are many men who are at that sort of caliber where we look at them and usually we know that they're of excellence, right? And you can't just get there with your ego, right? And a lot of divine masculines, they know that, and that's why a lot of them are brought to the divine feminine, because they know that there's a missing piece to the puzzle of their own life. And the divine feminine is the one that can activate that. And that's activate his emotions, right? Because there is actually intuition, there's actually imagination, and there's you could say a sense of ingenuity in the emotions, right? That combined with your ego, you get this excellence. You get original ideas that are actually trailblazing, that are actually inventive, innovative, but they come from a place of a character that is a part of the material world, successful in the material world, but also somebody who is successful in the spiritual realm, meaning they are united with themselves, right? They're united with their emotions, right? And they accept themselves. So with divine feminine, right, when it comes to herself, her sort of pursuit, so again, she's initiated into the spiritual realm. So a lot of the divine feminine early on, she's more of like a hermit, like she's about internal work, she's about internal, like cleaning the house. While the divine masculine, he's meant to be pushed out into the world to learn about the world and discover the world and know the world and the world, right? Because he's about being out there. The divine feminine is a little different, since she's a visionary. Visionaries are more of an inner reality, right? To be manifester really is to know your inner self, right? In the subconscious, the unconscious. So the divine feminine is really, her sort of initiation is about getting spiritual teachings, getting knowledge on the inner self, which is about the subconscious, the unconscious. And that has to do with her healing the past lives, her healing childhood, and her being a healer, right? Her coming into the healing, right? The healing of her becoming a very profound healer, we can say. So a lot of divine feminines are encouraged and even pushed into communities, environments that are based off of gaining spiritual knowledge or spiritual teachings or healing modalities or healing remedies, even really working on her spiritual and emotional maturity as a woman, because her emotional and spiritual maturity becomes his compass, his inner compass. So the divine masculine, his spiritual and emotional maturity is basically very much connected to the divine feminine, right? The divine feminine, her ego is very much connected to his ego. When it comes to the outer world, when it comes to pleasing people, being accepted in the eyes of your society, when it comes to success, when it comes to being a person, when it comes to having a self, right? A self-esteem. So the great, with the divine feminine, again, it is finding the emotional balance, but also the emotional clarity, because again, what we see in the material, this is like a life lesson for all divine feminines. What we see in the material realm is sometimes is not what's going on in the spiritual realm. And we all know this in the twin flame community. We're faced with this constantly, meaning the material realm can appear, right? Appear very much like a certain way, or that it's going a certain way, but in the spiritual realm, there's something else going on entirely. And that's why the spiritual realm is considered a secret, right? It's a secret, right? And that's why a lot of us, the secret has been withheld and has been hidden from us, right? The secret of manifestation, the secret of love, or the secret of the spiritual realm, basically is not apparent, right? And it's not designed to be apparent. The material realm doesn't want the spiritual realm to be apparent, even though it is pretty much, it's there, right? So the great life lesson for the divine feminine is not everything is what it seems, not everything is what it looks like. And that's her discernment, because the material world, and the divine masculine knows this well, is a magic show. The material world is a magic show, meaning it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, don't believe in everything you hear, don't believe in everything you see, don't believe in every little whatever that's out there, because most of it, probably 80% of it, is a magic show. And if you live in the city where there's a bunch of billboards and there's just a bunch of stuff, you'll really realize that like 80% of it is just a magic show, right? In the way that we behave, in the way that we present ourselves and we appear is not, a lot of times it's not what it seems. Like the Wizard of Oz, you go to the wizard and then you realize he's a total fraud, right? So I feel like that's the life lesson for the divine feminine, is discernment. Because when you start to really build you up spiritually, the spiritual realm is very direct, especially when you start to vibrate high in the 5th dimension, right? The spiritual realm will be very direct, but the material realm and these vibrations in the material realm are not going to be direct. They're not going to be straight, clear, and have integrity. So you may be picking up on energies in the material realm regarding the other, and you really, a lot of the information is not going to be correct. A lot of it is not going to be, because we do have the dark forces in the material realm that do obscure, manipulate, and sort of distort the information, to kind of obscure it in its the way of the agenda that they want. So the material world has a lot of agendas, and we live on a polarity planet. Those agendas can be of integrity, and agendas can be of distortion and manipulation, right? So the divine feminine, her personal power, she's actually meant to become a warrior. The divine masculine is actually meant to become a saint, which is about him really working on his heart, because the saints work on the heart and love, compassion, serenity, peace. The divine feminine is actually meant to become a warrior, which is she's meant to be out in the world as a spiritual leader, right? So it's kind of reverse roles that will happen eventually. The divine masculine, he's brought into the world right off the bat, right? He gets into the world, he builds his ego, he gets all his statuses, his credentials, gets all his whatever prestigious recognition for his ego, right? And then what happens is he starts to go inward, right, to recover and retrieve his emotions and his emotional balance, his emotional peace and equanimity. The divine feminine is different. From the get-go, she's really pushed to initiate her spiritual side, which is build up her psychic cord, her psychic ability, because the divine feminine is meant to be out of the radar of judgment. She's actually meant to be really, really high. When she channels, she's not meant to channel the material world, Because like I said, if you channel the material world, there's a lot of false information, there's a lot of bozos, there's a lot of just misinformation that is confused and manipulated. So divine feminine, she's actually meant to channel of a higher dimension that's outside of the dome of this material world, to retrieve knowledge that is direct, that has integrity, and that is pure. Because a lot of the material information is not pure, right? A lot of it is not. It's very manipulated, it's very obscured and distorted into all kinds of things. So in obtaining that sort of, you could say, spiritual, in graduating at that sort of spiritual level where she's really tapped into her psychic abilities, very, very creative, high level creativity, she's now meant to be out in the world as a spiritual leader, to share that in the presence of other people out in the world, showing herself to the world, right? Learning what it means to be in the world, and to have that sort of spiritual, emotional sort of maturity, and then using that as personal power in interactions with other people. So in the divine feminine, when she is called into spiritual leadership to the world, you know, external, right, from introvert to extrovert, she's meant to be kind of the presence of personal power. So when people connect with her, they're connecting with her personal power, right? And it's a warrior. While the divine masculine, when he goes inward, he's really meant to, his presence is actually meant to be one of being grounded, being peaceful, and having equanimity. So it's kind of interesting. It kind of feels reversed, right? The divine masculine is like personal power, gun-ho, making the money, the sex, the power, material world is my demand and my control. But then he gets that, he does it, he's like, yeah, do it. And then he goes inside, you know, to his emotions, to his heart, kind of becoming saintly, you know, with, you could say, healing and forgiveness and compassion, and, you know, letting go of ties and attachments and expectations, and letting go of these ways of deception and lack of integrity that come from the material world. It's like you can't be in the material world without gaining some sort of seduction or deception or some sort of bad habit, because they're everywhere in the material world, right? When you're smack in it, that's all that there's, like 80% of that, right? 20% of actually what we call in the material world that is like true, called direct, clear, pure information, that is based off of the frequency of the soul, right? And not the manipulation of the human sort of the human intelligence. So, right, the divine masculine, he becomes very introverted, and he starts to become more grounded, more peaceful, and focus more on equanimity, which is about finding his spirit, finding, okay, his integrity, his spiritual reality that is more clear and more pure than the material sort of world, right? And then again, the divine feminine, go out there in the world and really, since she's built herself up spiritually, emotionally, she can handle a lot, and she's meant to become the sort of leader in the spiritual, in the material world, right? A sovereign being, showcasing sovereignty, showcasing creativity that is very liberating and very empowering, because that creativity doesn't come from a manipulation, doesn't come from deception or seduction or some sort of distortion. So it comes from a place of her being so united, so aligned, and so deeply connected to her spiritual reality, which is feeling basically fearless in a way that has discernment, in a way that also has clear boundaries. So that's the divine feminine right there, and the divine masculine right there. So when it comes to the emotions of the divine feminine, they're saying that it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel to feel, because the divine feminine, she will feel psychically a lot, right? And it's okay. Part of the journey is to feel. Part of it is to feel whatever sort of feelings that come through, right? It's a part of the journey. It's a part of the experience of getting spiritually stronger and emotionally mature, right? So it's to go through it. It's not just to block it out or try to run away or it's too much as a woman. It is to just let yourself experience it, let yourself go through it so that you can get more of a grip over yourself, right? So that when you are in the midst of, you can say these emotions that may seem very heavy or very overwhelming, or of disappointment, sorrow, grief, whatever that is, when you go through it, you're actually learning, you're being pushed and called to gain your personal power, right? Into your personal power, which is to create your own reality. So when you feel the dark forces of this material world sort of separating you, isolating you from your dream or from your intention or your divine inheritance, twin flames is a divine inheritance, right? By the way, right? It's just building up your personal power to stand up to the dark forces on this planet, and that come at you in many ways. Parents, friends, society just come at you in subtle ways, right? You can feel it psychically. It's there to build up your personal power. The dark forces that come to you and bring you feelings of separation, isolation, feelings of disappointment, grief that make you feel entrapped or make you feel stuck, right? Or stagnant. Because I'm telling you, the divine masculine is more likely to get stagnant emotionally, and the divine feminine is more likely to get stuck when it comes to stagnant when it comes to her ability to create her own reality, right? When it comes to receptivity and when it comes to opportunities for her to receive successes for her work, right? Her work that she is. So really the divine feminine is focusing on her work ethic, right? Which is about really building up her work ethic, really getting in touch with her healing, you can say her artistry, right? I say healing, creative artistry, right? Which is her business, it is her project, it is her endeavor, it's her livelihood, right? Creating a work ethic that's going to bring about prosperity, right? So it's really the divine feminine is about working on the Lakshmi frequency, which is about wealth, building wealth both spiritually and materially. So it's about work ethic, right? Working on the projects, the endeavors, right? Putting them out into the world, using the personal power as a woman to fearlessly kind of stride forward into the material realm, right? Knowing that the spiritual reality is her ultimate truth, her ultimate integrity that will help her to see past the magic show, the deception and manipulation that may try to kind of knock her off and derobe her, which is everywhere in the material realm. And the divine masculine is really about accepting love, embracing love, and really surrendering to love, knowing that the love, right, unconditional love, your soul love, love of angels, this love of yourself is actually very powerful, and it's a part of his growth into locking higher frequencies of excellence as a man. So, oh God, the information is like, whoa. It's like, it comes through so overpowering. It's like, whoa. I don't even realize how much time has gone by. So that's the main messages. So letting yourself feel, get your personal power as a woman and feel what it is you need to feel, but direct it. Learn how to direct the energy, because all these emotions are coming through because you're learning how you're being initiated into higher maturity, emotional maturity. And through these deep emotions, you're learning how to direct it. Right? To direct it with leadership, right? To create your own reality, because I'm telling you, the magic show, it's not what it appears, it's not what it seems. People can say and do, and you could see it all over social media. Doesn't mean that it's actually integrity. It doesn't mean that it's actually going to be the advice or be the energy that's going to help you. Right, because we know that this earth, the way it's been set up, is there's a lot of energy of taking, selfishness, we can say, self-importance, and that has also why we're very drained and have drained the planet in many ways is because a lot of takers were kind of, raid and pillage, drain, and that kind of thing. We're really into that sort of structure. So really it's about the divine feminine. It's really about the slaying of fear, and that's why the divine feminine is really tested when it comes to fear. More so the divine masculine as well, but the divine feminine for sure, she's tested with fear by dark forces. But the dark forces are not there to, you could say, to destroy her. They're more to challenge her, right? The challengers, the destroyers will challenge her. They will challenge her to get her personal power. And if you think you have personal power and you still feel this isolation, separation, or you still feel this lacking, or this sort of block in your ability to create your reality, that means that your personal power is being challenged. And personal power is not just about pushing or shoving or trying to make it go away. It really is about sitting with it, and it really is about letting yourself go deeper as a woman into what it is that you truly want, and really go deeper into your spiritual practice, go deeper into your surrender as a woman, surrendering to the divine, because a part of the mission of the divine feminine is to be fully united with her divine spirit team, which is the angels and the archangels. And a part of when, the personal power is not just about you as a physical being. It's about the personal power comes from you being totally in surrender and accepting and embracing of the higher angels and the archangels. So I'm going to pull some cards now for the Crystal Oversoul Attunement. I'm just going to pull 3 cards. And what is the divine guidance for twin flames that can be most inspiring, empowering, can be uplifting, help everybody move forward and experience great love, great freedom, and great joy. And just know this twin flame journey, right? There's a lot of focus of just coming together with your twin flame, which is, we talk about that as for many of us is the goal, but I feel like the greater goal is very much surrendering, right? Very, very much surrendering to your own inner knowledge, right? And your own ability to create your reality, right? As you see fit is for you. Because there's a lot of us trying to fit the world and fit what other beliefs are out there that are not of our own natural rhythm. It's really about more us fitting the rhythm that best fits us. That's really what it's about. Finding your natural rhythm and fitting your soul and fitting your natural gift of manifesting and creating your reality as you see fit for yourself. Right, okay. And it's also about creating a lineage, right? It's about creating a lineage. And that can come through, like I said, your twin can be your brother, can be your mother, can be your father, can be your cousin. It can be somebody who's like 20 years older than you, 20 years younger than you. It really just is about you burning through the karma of this planet, which is burning through the karma. The divine masculine's karma is about the material world. So the karma the divine masculine must burn through is karma of deception, greed, lack of integrity, low self-esteem, and addictions, because that's all a part of the material world, right? The divine feminine's karma to burn through is disillusionment, sabotage, low self-worth, spiritual neglect, and mental entrapment. Those are the karmas she's meant to burn through, because that's all associated with the spiritual realm. So their karmas are different, they're meant to burn through, but when you burn through that, it's about building up lineage. I told you the Lakshmi lineage, the Shakti, say Laksh, Shakti lineage, right? Because I follow Shakti lineage, as many people do, right? In the yogic community, the Shakti lineage is about coming into the empowerment, the liberation of your kind of it's a warrior practice about wealth. It's about living your wealth as spiritually and materially, and that's a part of the wealth of a lineage of spiritually and materially, which the dark forces have been opposing of and have tried to destroy since the dawn of Shakti herself and the dawn of Krishna himself. There's so many spiritual stories, spiritual script of about the darker forces trying to destroy these very wealthy lineages that are through wealth of not a greed, not of addiction, not of disillusionment, not of magic show, right? Which is about lying and, cheating your way through things, about through integrity, which when you create a lineage, it's about wealth that is unstoppable and undeniable for many generations to come. But in order to kind of have that sort of blessing, have that sort of spiritual power, which even there's a lot of wealthy people today, billionaires, millionaires, who a lot of it, you can sense this sort of karma associated with it. And even Yogi Bhajan has talked about millionaires coming to him to ask, can you burn my karma away for me? There are literally millionaires who will pay millions of dollars to a yogi who will say, can you burn my karma for me? Right? I have karma attached to my lineage. My grandfather stole this from somebody and we have karma. We still have millions of dollars, but we have karma. Right? And you could feel that karma because you'll always feel there's an imbalance in you. It might not be in your finance world. You'll be imbalanced like in your emotional world, in your family life, in your mental life, in your sexual life. Like the imbalance, the karma is an imbalance, and part of this earth is you will not experience the blessing or the good fortune until you have balance. So that's where we talk about karma. So deception is in balance. Greed is in balance. Lack of integrity is in balance. Addiction is in balance, right? Sort of selfishness is in balance. And that's all about the material world. That's all in balance, right? The law of attraction, the law of the universe states wealth is from the balance of a person. Is from the balance of a person, right? And that's the strength of a person, the balance of the person, right? And that shows true deserving, and that shows true of you can say inheritance, divine inheritance, right? So we don't receive our divine inheritance until we really do find that balance, right? Burn through that karma that is creating a blockage in receiving our divine inheritance, right? Being caught in the dark force, or in the blockages, or the sort of dysfunction, or the disruption, or the arrhythmia, or the inability to be true to yourself, right, is a major blockage and imbalance, right? And that's why Shakti lineage is about personal power for women, Melat, and it's about fairness for men. Men are meant to be fair, and women are meant to have personal power, right? That is, and when there is the imbalance of that, the universe will always correct that until there is balance, right? So until there is balance, we'll constantly play the game with life, right? The game with the dark forces, the game with our ego, right? Until we find the balance. Very, very interesting, right? Coming from ancient practices. So we had the first card is her Khmer diamond. I'll just show you the frequency. And this one says happiness. Her Khmer diamonds encourage us to be optimistic, positive, and relaxed in our attitude. There's such a positive and reassuring message to these crystals that it is a challenge to remain unhappy around them. Here, Khmer diamonds reminds us that life can be simple and easy. Their unique energy balances the crown chakra, and it is the century of power that dictates our overall attitude to life. if we can remember that we are also made in the image of joy, radiating from the crown chakra, all that manifests on our behalf will reflect this energy as well. Here, Chimera diamonds help us remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. With this in mind, we see the world through the eyes of wonder and excitement. So the message is really about focusing on one's joy, right? This is a very divine feminine energy, right? Pink, very, very feminine. I feel like it's focusing on joy, excitement, and being positive and being, you can say, being enthusiastic about the turn of events. So I feel like it's really focusing on joy in through sexuality, sensuality, and really focusing on it's not as complicated as you think it is. That's a message. It's not as complicated. It's not as complicated. I feel many of us in the twin flame community have made it so complicated, have put so many labels, have put so much, so many reasons why it's not this, that, the other, that we are gotten ourselves so complicated, and we made it so complex that it's become like a maze that nobody can solve, right? It's almost like we've made it into a maze. We've made it into some labyrinth that nobody can figure out, right? We've made it way too complicated, and we do it even intellectually, mentally, right? We make it like a maze, right? It's like we're trying to figure it out. And I feel for this card, for many of you guys, it's really saying about focusing on the joy, really focusing on your own personal joy, focusing on what it is that really makes you happy. And if you're not experiencing the happiness, really focus on the crown chakra, focus on how, like, even saying to the divine, like, okay, I feel a certain way, right? I feel like I'm not sure what's going on with my life, or I'm feeling I don't know which direction to go. I feel a little bit uncertain. Can you give me some inspiration? Can you give me some like guidance of where I should go next, what I should be doing to better grow and to blossom, right? And the divine will give you inspiration. It will tell you what you can do to better bring about joy into your life, right? So that you can take away the hardness, the rigidness, the sort of we can get really, really stubborn, right? Really kind of like fixated and just really consumed by all these reasons, all these reasons of this, that, and the other, why it's this twin flame journey is one thing or not one thing, and then this thing but not this thing. So I really feel it's about relaxing with yourself, right? Relaxing with yourself and letting yourself be content with whatever the divine has to give to you, right? So be content with whatever the divine has to give to you, even if that is the most beautiful relationship that's not whatever it is that you're so fixated or making so complex or so wrapped around, right? It's letting go of attachments, letting go of expectations, and allowing the joy of you, whatever gives you joy, the thought of doing something or the thought of having something or experiencing something, let the divine give that to you. But the divine can't if we are so wrapped up in our complications, in our reasons, our doubts, right? It can't come through. These little subtle divine inspiration that really want to help us experience greater victory when it comes to our ability to trust and our ability to let the guides work for us. So next card is we have Danbright. It's a yellow card. It says receiving the light. With Danbright, one becomes more receptive to subtle light, sound, and color frequencies and emanating from planes just above the crown chakra. This is turn can create a profound sense of inner peace as we are reminded of the multiple worlds that surround us. We come to know on a deep level that all life is unified. Danbright encourages the emotional body to relax and be open to the divine presence within. As humans, we inhabit a world of incredible polarities, yet collectively there is an awakening to the unity of all creation. Danbright asks us to focus on the underlying oneness that pervades creation. So there's a sense of focus, relaxing your emotions. It's a really focus about being at ease with your emotions and being open to the divine. There's really a sense of don't put on reasons, labels, expectations. Don't put on titles, or don't put on any sort of whatever belief. Don't put any belief on. Just completely surrender to the divine and really open up to the sort of focusing on your greatest dream, focusing on what it is that you look at and it lights you up, even if it's a little video, or if it's watching a little movie, or taking a walk, surfing, if it's horseback riding. Really focusing on how you can be more grounded in your body, how can you be more connected to the physical sensations of ease. And really, this is a time for twin flames, I'm seeing, of peace. This really, it is about peace. The whole union, what I'm hearing from divine, it's about peace. A lot of us have been through war and battles and fighting, and this time for twin flames, this incarnation is about peace, right? It's so many battles we have fought since the Krishna and Shakti days, right? This incarnation really is about many twin flames having peace. It's not about the complications and all of that. It's really about making peace with each other, making peace with oneself, and really focusing more so on peace, and just letting that peace be the mission, right? For many twin flames, it's letting the peace be the mission, and letting the peace be the prosperity, letting the peace be what is the most successful vibration in you, that brings you the wealth to your door, right? The sense of peace, the sense of knowing how to bring peace, right? In this world of so much just noise, I feel like the only way, really the way that we do, you can say, be warriors and bring balance to this earth, is through our peace. It's the peace that really wants to come through. And the last card we have is forgiveness. It says Dioplasy. Forgiveness. And this one is talking about, so we have the crown chakra, and this one's about the heart. So there definitely is the awakening of the crown chakra, which has to do with your, see the gold? The gold energy has to do with higher knowledge. The gold energy has to do with the Akasha, has to do with your Akashic records and completion, right? It's about coming into completion. It's about having a higher understanding. It's about feeling complete, feeling content, right? Feeling like a graduate soul, or feeling like you're coming into you're finally coming into yourself. You're finally finding your way. You're finally sensing the divine correctly, or feeling really stable in your connection with the divine. So Dioplasy is a powerful healer for the heart, thymus, nerves, lower lungs, and chest region. The heart chakra processes and gathers energy in this area. If there's a disturbance or upset in the balance of energy, this chakra cannot function properly, and thus our overall health can suffer. The disturbance can be holding on to grievances, guilt, envy, and dwelling on upsets, or not airing out our feelings. By working with Dioplasy, we can learn to express any feelings that we do not wish to hold on to and which do not serve our health. Dioplasy has a fresh, optimistic, healing vibration that will have a positive influence on our whole sense of well-being. It is a stone of cleansing and new beginnings. So I feel like this is about letting go of the emotions. Like, we've been holding on to grievances, guilt, envy, and past mistakes, holding on to just deep, deep sorrows, deep, deep depressions. And I feel like we're being cleaned out. We're being very much cleaned of these really sort of consuming emotions of mistakes, right? For the divine masculine, it's a little bit heavier because, like I said, he's a man of the material world. So what that means is he carries the material world. And the material world, like I said, the karma, deception, greed, addiction, low self-esteem, and lack of integrity, those karmas bring about all kinds of emotional immaturity. And when you're emotionally immature, you tend to make decisions and choices that are quite destructive, dysfunctional, and just can even be disruptive to yourself or to other people, right? And reaping that kind of, the consequences of that is sorrow, is grief, is guilt, is denial, is pain, suffering, emotional, right? So the divine masculine, the effects of the karma, right? The cause and effect, right? The effects of the karma, of deceit, greed, low self-esteem, lack of integrity. The effect of that is, the consequence is to function from that low vibration, which divine masculines really struggle with because that's their great battle, is feelings of grief, guilt, and even shame. When we have to heal those karmas, it can be very, very painful in the emotional body of men especially. And that's why a lot of men have denial, because when those emotions come up, they can be so heavy. And since a lot of, you can say, men don't have the emotional strength or personal power of women, like women, they can get all too consumed and feel all too, saddened by that, right? So with women, the energy of the emotions of the woman, right, are very powerful, but women have a lot of personal power. So the karmas of women is really, even can bring about a lot of emotional pain, which is, disillusionment, low self-worth. It can be about spiritual aggression, attack kind of thing. Can also be about judgments and shame, right? We face as women in the karma of the spiritual self, and that can for us, it can bring about emotional dissatisfaction, right? So really, I'll pull a card about how, I'll pull from this other deck, how we can better heal our emotions, right? Let go and release emotions that are more therapeutic. Because I think everyone right now doesn't know how to heal their karma, because when it comes up, it wants to flush through the emotions, but a lot of people don't let it flush, so then it doesn't go, it just kind of goes back inside the body. So really, the burning of the karma is really through the emotional sort of therapy. So I'll pull a card from the Crystal Wisdom Healing Oracle. How can we better heal our emotions? How can we better heal our emotions? We have turquoise, which is a very powerful energy, right? It's an energy of royalty. It's an energy of, energy of the natives, right? Natives use a lot of the turquoise, right? It's a very royal sort of healing energy. Turquoise, true riches. So focusing on what is true riches, right? What is emotional fulfillment? What is emotional fulfillment? And if this isn't emotional fulfillment, you need to re-examine. If that doesn't give you this state of joy, like ultimate joy when you're doing that, you need to re-examine it. True riches. A copper-based stone attracting good fortune since antiquity. Turquoise was popular for protective amulets, sacred to Hathor, Venus, and to Buddha. It linked earth and sky and made a potential love charm. Self-understanding. Your pathway is one of self-realization. Qualities you cultivate now drive your spiritual evolution forward. Draw on your karmic wisdom and past life skills. Release vows that no longer serve you and speak what used to be unspeakable. So it's about expressing yourself. It's about expressing your feelings. It's about using your feelings, putting it into your art, put it into your music, put it in your creativity. It's not about hiding, denying, shaming. It's not about bottling it up. It's not choking on your feeling. It is about putting it into your artistry. Put it into your artistry. That's your true riches. you're truly rich when you have that level of strength to actually be real with your emotions. That's true riches right there. It says divination, watch your health and avoid polluted environments. Brilliant success and happiness are coming. Fortune favors you. You navigate the way forward with sure-footed confidence, but watch your personal safety and deal with problems immediately. Good friends accompany you. You are in the spotlight and others rely on you. So friends, make sure that you have friends around you that also support your emotional health and also support your emotional honesty and your emotional vulnerability, and support your emotional growth in the way that they give you a sense of equanimity or sense of emotional sincerity, right? So I feel like this is saying true riches really comes from our ability to express ourselves with confidence, as I read, right? To the confidence, and that gives us this sense of greatness, right? Because it's so extraordinary to be able to release emotions in a way that is for our empowerment and for our growth rather than for our destruction and for our chaos. So I'm going to focus 2 cards for the all twin flames, how we can better heal, grow, and excel. 2 more cards for twin flames, how we can grow, heal, and excel. Okay, grow, heal, and excel for all twin flames. Okay, so 1 card, and then we have the 2nd card. So when we really look at turquoise, going back to that again, when we go back to turquoise, it's a love charm, right? It's a potential love charm. I keep seeing that as, and I do really resonate with this being a love charm. It's really about focusing on being happy-go-lucky, being platonic, being kindred, being hopeful, being enthusiastic, right? Move your energy, move yourself according to what it is that it's going to elevate you, right? It's making those necessary changes, because true riches, it really is about making the necessary changes with delight and with eager, right? It's about being eager of your transformation, being eager about your emotional release, being eager that these things they're leaving you, right? Whatever it is that has been bothering you or burdensome, focusing on the expression, the creativity of you confidently moving yourself forward. So we have the first card, which is Menelite. It's kind of interesting. It's like a white it looks like a white stone. So just a couple more guidance and then we'll be done. Okay. So the wise feminine. So the guidance, wise feminine. Menelite has a profound connection with Earth, the wise feminine, and priestess power. It marks rites of passage through womanhood to wisdom. So again, all of that we're going through as women, especially because most women are the ones that are really going through the personal power, needing to rise above these dark forces. I'm telling you, these dark forces of whatever karmas that the masculine and the feminine are both dealing with, it really is about, again, the rite of passage through womanhood to wisdom, right? And the rite of passage through womanhood to wisdom, it really is the divine feminine is the one. She is the chosen one. She is the one, right? In which he is led by her, right? He follows her lead, right? Because she is the energy that represents the clarity and the direction and the sort of higher mission of the life, right? Because the material world, unfortunately, will not tell you your mission. It will give you all kinds of things and put you in the runaround. But really, there's the life purpose, the North Node, right? The expression, the true sort of sense of peace and contentment and completion. It really is the wisdom that comes through tapping into your incarnational balance, right? It really comes through the healing of the karma for you and your planet and your family, which is really of personal power. It takes personal power to do that, emotional maturity greatly to do that. And that's why twin flames are here, to have that sort of healing and clearing of karma on behalf of the planet, on behalf of the on behalf of the material world and the spiritual world that is connected to the earth. Because we can't be able to really create a wealthy lineage of the Shakti, right? To really come into the excellence of Lakshmi or Lakshman, as long as we're still bound to these karmas that keep us isolated, that keep us separated, that keep us in delusionment, that keep us in conflict, that keep us in this complicated sort of maze that we're just trapped in. That we're never going to be able to create a wealthy lineage of creative destiny where we are actually fulfilling the true riches, which is love that is unconditional, platonic, kindred, and love that is actually very much you really tapping into your sincerity and using that to potentiate you into your greater excellence, right? The higher caliber I've talked about of excellence, which is creative ingenuity, right? Of really being really feeling yourself, right? And the last card we have is the inner compass with the blue stone, right? And this card is about blue stone planted healing energies from the land of the ancestors into a sacred healing landscape. This stone accesses past, present, and future. Life and self-understanding. You are an ancient shaman who has much wisdom to impart and the ability to journey through multiple dimensions in search of healing. You have unshakable core stability and an inner compass that directs you with integrity. Divination. Use natural medicine for alignments. Pay attention to your boundaries. Dig deep into the past. Access your memories and cut yourself free. Examine your deepest intentions and roots. Live in the present moment. Find your own direction and face challenges with equanimity. You have power to decide. Pay particular attention to your environment. So examine your deepest intentions and roots. That seems very significant. Examine your deepest intentions and roots. So your intentions as a woman, it should not be this person. It should not be whatever person that you have in your orbit. It should really about you as a woman or man experiencing your sense of victory in your life, right? Your sense of joy, right? And being open to what the divine has to offer, because this universe and our journey through it and the healing of our karma, it's going to be experienced in many ways that we cannot attach ourselves to. And if the divine has multiple friends, family, even lovers that want to come in, that could be platonic, kindred, allow that energy to come in through focusing on your true riches, right? Focusing on you, your offering, right? Your offering and the personal power, as well as the having a concrete identity that's not so easily shaken, that's not so easily disturbed by the dark forces that have their own sort of opinions about your identity, right? About your true concrete identity. I'm just going to pull one more card because I really love these crystal cards, right? So again, the feminine, I feel like this is all about the females, right? The divine masculines are really here on this planet to help the females. And as strange as that sounds, that's the balance of the scales on this planet, because women on this planet have been so caged and oppressed for so long that, you know, men have done the ego for so long. They have competed, had war and fighting each over random stuff. You know, the men have had their chance. They've had their chance for centuries, right? About, you know, their wars and their conflict and their competition and their money games and their deception. And not every man has done that, but that's the karma. All men have that karma because we're all on this planet together, right? And many men have healed that karma. Many men and the generations of men have healed that karma, meaning they have healed deception, they have healed greed, they have healed lack of integrity, low self-esteem, right? And a lot of women have healed the karma of the spiritual self, which is disillusionment, right? Spiritual aggression, attack, right? Low self-esteem, low self-worth, right? You can say shame, and you can say sabotage. But we still have a lot of that here, right? So I'm going to focus on just what is the guidance to anybody who's watching this, right? Just going to pull a card, the guidance. What should you focus on? Just one card. What should we all focus on for greater impact and manifestation? I feel like it's just to know your offering and know that your offering is correct, and that the divine has much in store and much planned for you if you can like free up the energy and allow it to unfold. Wow, we have the same Herkimer diamond that we got in the other deck. Very, very interesting. And that's happiness. Focus on your happiness. Don't focus on this person, that happening, needing it, whatever. Focus on your happiness and whatever that is for you. If that is love, if that is really bringing in that attention and inviting in that it's an adventure for yourself. So instant energy. Powerful energy generators that access and release past life information. Herkimer diamonds make excellent shields against geopathic stress and EMFs. This crystal works behind the physical levels of being to bring harmony to the energy bodies and the soul. So we're needing to heal the energy bodies. And we can do that through this particular channel that's coming through. Self-understanding. Keep careful note of your dreams as they reveal the underlying causes of your dis-ease. You may be particularly sensitive to EMF frequencies, radioactivity, and detrimental earth energies. You may also be physically sensitive and need to clear a blocked third eye. Divination. Check that you are not living on a negative earth energy line. You may be addicted to your tablet or mobile phone and receiving detrimental vibes therefore from. Screen yourself appropriately. Wow. So it could be we are experiencing drainage from an environment that we're in. It could be from TV, excessive TV watching. It could be too much stimulation from, you can say, social media. It can also be that causes a blockage in the third eye when we are excessively trying to watch TV or social media. Also, it could be about if we are living in a place like a home environment, or a place even in a geographic place like the line that we're on, right? Our house, it could be causing sort of a negative energy vortex, right? And it's about removing your life, kind of healing your life accordingly. But it is about can be about healing your physical, your bodies, your energy bodies, through eliminating these stressors. That could be stimulations, that could be even a sort of vortex, and yes, this is healing inside. High vibration, high impact energy can drastically change your world. So we're really asking to really get sensitive of what is around us, what is kind of causing this sort of energy tiredness, or energy sort of altering our energetic bodies and creating some sort of disruption or some sort of pain in us, right? And really starting again, it could be the radioactivity, which again comes from our phones, comes from too much TV, even comes from too much stimulation. Too much stimulation that's going on in the body. So we need to start to ground ourselves more in nature and not so much in what it is we're seeing. So much in what we're seeing. and believing. It's almost like I feel like it's almost like don't disconnect from whatever it is that you're believing based off of something on social media, something on television. It's really about going cold turkey for a while. I'm hearing some of you guys need to go cold turkey, straight up cold turkey. And I hear that so strongly. Go straight up cold turkey for a while. Could be a month, 2 months, and just see what comes through. Literally, if you have to, focus your energy on something else, like taking a walk or even focusing on going to an art class, right? Where you have no sense of desire to watch excess television or participate in stimulations, or if you're feeling some sort of energy environment that's not supportive in any way, bring in some feng shui, bring in some plants, bring in some crystals, bring in this crystal particularly to help you kind of energize the state, and really be aware of the energy bodies, because I feel for many the energy bodies can be deeply affected by stresses that come again in the twin flame thing, as it's not going the way I want it to do or whatever it is, right? Really focusing on you and your happiness, you, because it's about you, right? It's not about the other. It's not about what they're doing. It's not about if they're gonna whatever. It's about you, and it's about you getting your happiness. And if you want love, ask for love. Organize your life according to that. If you want a particular intention, and if you have a particular idea about what it is that really lights you up and brings joy and happiness, focus on that. Because this is definitely saying that we do need to go cold turkey with whatever beliefs that we've been harboring, or patterns, or way about going about things, so that we can start to really clear out the third eye and start to really clean out whatever it is that we're stimulating excessively or overthinking excessively, or whatever it is that we're doing that is creating you can say just emotional sort of imbalances that's going on, because it also can be something that's going on in the environment and something that we're doing constantly or consistently that could be very disruptive into the hormonal imbalances. For some of us, we have hormonal imbalances, and that's why we don't feel much ease. And for other of us, we have emotional emotional apathy, or emotional you can say we have an emotional apathy due to substances, or due to excessive drinking, eating, stimulation, that is really we need to go cold turkey and to just let the kind of sweat, the tears, the sweat, the tears, to really give us this sort of a true journey of the spirit, which is kind of like a sort of experience of like being in a sweat lodge where you go cold turkey. A sweat lodge, it's like experience of fasting and experience of going cold turkey for like hours, and only being in the sweat lodge for only an hour or two, but it's experience of sweating years of excessive stimulation, both sexually, mentally, emotionally, and beliefs that we've been excessively constantly doing for years. So going cold turkey is like, let yourself sweat it out, let yourself cry it out, let it happen. Do what you need to do. If that means going into a bath, if that means taking a long walk, if that means going to retreat, if that means, finding a new job, if that means, having a new routine, if that means reevaluating your old routine and how much energy that you are putting into the way that you're doing things. I feel like this is really about going about something in a totally new way, totally reevaluating, reinventing the way that we're going about things, so that we can start to feel more, so we can start to really open up our channels, because I feel like we can't open our channels when we keep whatever it is that keep regurgitating, or trying to push, or trying to make, or trying to constantly doing, right? There's always something constantly doing. Sometimes there has to be a total just letting it kind of wash over us, like sitting in a sweat lodge, and you're literally just sitting there and it's just sweating and the tears are coming. but it's the most purifying, it's the most healing and restorative thing, because it's a total act of surrendering to the divinity and to the spirituality of your sense of trust in your ability to heal and your ability to manifest, especially in the times where we're high pressured and high challenged. That's usually where the major breakthrough comes in, where we really start to come into the fullness of what it is that we're supposed to come into, which may not be what we think or what we want or what we desire, what we believe, but will just kind of come into naturally when we are definitely accepting of the mystery and definitely just going with whatever it is that is calling and desiring to just burn out of us, and what is desiring the space that really wants to come into us, whatever that space may be. Really surrender to that space of being fully involved and fully participant of your healing and your responsibility to yourself, and the happiness, the vision, the intention that is your birthright, and it is of not just you, but it also is a part of the divine orchestration that is to channel through you bigger energy, not just for you, but for the lineage of you and for the generations of you and for the karma that wants to heal through you. And that's deeply supported by the angels and reassured constantly through the act of surrender, through the act of not just believing in whatever, but letting go of beliefs entirely, even what you think. When you get to a point where you have an intention, you have belief, have an intention, have a vision, sometimes we have to completely let it go entirely so that we can really open up, become this almost this spaciousness just to see what it is that really wants to come through us, right? So I'm going to leave you guys with this, and Sat Nam.